researched this and I rewrote it because the first one was very graphic and wasn't appropriate because it did not address how the actions of this person that we accepted into our family years ago as a little baby, what they've done to us. So I did rewrite it. 26 months and 1 day ago, until mid-morning, October 26, 2014, my life was perhaps boringly routine. I was content with life on the farm, daily seeing Lindsey and Joy, and following Emily with her horse doctoring journeys on Facebook. Around 11:15 that Sunday morning, Lindsey and Joy's lives were stolen from me. Though not certain of the time Emily was taken, a window of time is assumed. I was not forewarned of what I would discover at the house when that tale was rehearsed to me shortly after 11:15. Listening to the 911 calls, the two different ones that I made, it was evident. Instead, I discovered the carnage. Perhaps this was the intent to kill me daily by the images of my family searing into my senses. Continually, daily, the last images of my family here on the farm. Oft I wished I was with them, for the pain is unfathomable. Frozen in my mind are the final images I have of Lindsey, Joy, and Emily at their house. That same house that once harbored joyful memories was then transformed into a temporary tomb for them until near 6 a.m. the next morning, October 27th. In my desperation, I waited all night in the driveway to glimpse the final time any of them would travel down the driveway. The same driveway that Lindsey traveled with numerous vehicles, trucks, tractors, backhoe, Jeeps, the same driveway that Joy would walk daily with her dogs or ride her bike, the same driveway that Emily drove down for the last time on Saturday, October 25th. My dear friends and friends of Lindsey and Joy, Danny and Jan Heltsley, remained with me all night. Their lives, too, are permanently affected by this massacre, as our other friends and family members' lives have been permanently scarred that have supported us. Frozen in my mind is phoning my little brother and saying, "Get over here. Lindsey, Joy, and Emily have been murdered." Frozen in my mind is hearing Judy's wail when I told her in person, because I didn't have her cell phone number and I had to tell her in person when she arrived at the farm. Lindsey, Joy, and Emily have been murdered. I know the exact location in the yard when I told her. Frozen in my mind is the field that Lindsey had carefully seeded the day before, October 25th. The seeder still hooked to the tractor because he planned on working further that Sunday afternoon. That field Sunday afternoon was populated not with the anticipation of sprouting seedlings, but a swarm of sentries summoned to sift through the evidence at the house. The field and house that night was transformed into a spectral scene of glaring lights piercing the once tranquil homestead. Glaring lights reminding our neighbors and friends that our neighborhood would never be the same for many reasons. Frozen in my mind that Monday, the start of disassembling the house of the fragments of their lives, packing and sorting their belongings, a task that is still not fully completed after 27 months. The task of choosing clothing that Lindsey, Joy, and Emily would wear to the end of this world. Choosing caskets to encase their bodies that once were so vibrant, full of life for themselves and others. These caskets, later that Sunday afternoon the following week, were encased at Lawrence Cemetery, just a short jaunt from our home. Frozen in my mind, the visitation and funeral. The funeral procession, 3 vehicles carefully toting Lindsey, Joy, and Emily right down here through Main Street from the school that all 3 of them graduated from. the same school that Joy worked at for 30 years, the street that they all traveled so many times. Now that street led them to their final soil. That image too seared into my mind, their last ride. Again, the impact on me, where do I start? Sunday morning, I continually watched the clock, thinking this is what was going on, thinking what Emily was going through because she was at the house, thinking around 11:12, 11:15, I heard the gunshots, and thinking these don't sound like the normal gunshots I hear around the house from 22 rifles. So Sunday mornings, I wish I could just delete from my life because they're horrendous, they're horrible. The word gun or bullet causing me to flinch, knowing my family perished by such. But that gun and bullet needed a carrier to kill them. They didn't do it on their own. Gunshots, when I hear them, flashbacks of hearing those gunshots that I heard Sunday morning. Duct tape, something I need on the farm or around the house. I cannot even use gray duct tape anymore because when I see gray duct tape, all I see is the image of Emily, her face and head taped up that looked like a cocoon, her little hands taped up like mittens. That's what I see whenever I see duct tape. Another effect, crying at the gun counter of the department store where the bullets were purchased that murdered my family. Additionally, that same store I no longer frequent because the mother of Vito Riservato works there. I avoid it. I've struggled to maintain a job I loved and I still love in the past 27 months, often working 18 hours a day between that job and my farm. The job that I was preparing for that Sunday night, I was going to do lessons to the Mexicans on the farm. But at 5 o'clock, I was meeting with Joy, Lindsey, and Emily. We were going to have soup because Emily was leaving the next day to depart on her new journey in New Orleans at a different racetrack. I was preparing my lessons that Sunday morning so I would be ready after I had soup with Joy, Lindsey, and Emily. That crock pot was still going with the soup on it. The soup burned up, seared into the crock pot, just like all these images are seared into my mind now. I lost my confidant, Joy, not just a sister-in-law, but she was a best friend. I could discuss anything with her bluntly, for she and I both shared that characteristic or possibly flaw. Joy, she showered me with leftovers often because she would say, "It's not enough for me and Lindsey to have a meal. Here, you take them." Joy, the one I talked horses with and shared horse picks with. Joy, the one that I entrusted the care of my big brother because she had cared for him all these years and all through the surgeries that he had after his retirement. And I wish to add one thing. You visited my big brother one time in all the times that he was having surgeries. One time. And that one time was because Joy gave you a check. And I didn't want to know about it, but Joy confided in me going home what this was about. You never came back. Emily was with us on the phone, on the iPad, continually. But she was 800 miles away. Joy entrusted me with the care of her critters whenever she and Lindsey would be out of town. She had a carefully penned, written instruction sheet for me that I had memorized. However, she always kept it right there by the dog food and pet and cat food containers. Tragically, that's where Joy died. That's where I found Joy, slumped over those dog food and cat food containers. Emily, where do I start with her? Little tow-headed rascal that I plopped on a horse for the first time when she was 2 years old. The following year, I introduced her to showing, much to Lindsey's chagrin, but much to Joy's happiness. Sort of my little protege. I tell her whenever I was showing, don't look at everybody, don't be turning around and grinning, be serious, look between the ears of the pony. Me instructing a little 3-year-old girl what to do and to be serious. She carried that on through her career in showing horses and was very successful. Emily, the one person that I thought maybe would visit me if and when I grew to old age. She's gone now. My lifespan has been cut short by the stress imposed upon me because of you. Emily, I'd often send her pictures of ailments that our cows or horses or dogs or cats would have, asking for her advice. Free vet advice. She would return, giving me a diagnosis, a cause, and treatment. I don't have that anymore. I'd look forward to her post on Facebook of her episodes on the racetrack, various things such as alligators crossing the racetrack, flamingos, flying monkeys, all these things. All I can do is go back and look at the history of her. Lindsey, I lost the big brother who I held on a pedestal. I felt like Lindsey really could do no wrong. That's how much I thought of him. Lindsey was mild-mannered and meek, complete opposite of me. Mama knew that. She told me, you need to take care of Lindsey. I did my best while he was alive, and it haunts me knowing that somewhere along the line I failed because he died that morning, along with his sweet wife and sweet daughter. Lindsey, he gave me advice, whether I wanted it or not, but it was true. It was true, honest advice. He helped me change batteries in trucks. He helped me pull out orange hay strings from mowers. He helped me maintain the material things that we had on the farm because they were hard to get. We worked hard for what we got. Lindsey and I shared that. We took care of what we had. Lindsey would fuss about my horses. Little did people know that years ago, Lindsey bought me my second horse. I don't advertise that much. Don't know why in the world he came home with that horse for me. But he did. But he knew that these horses were part of a package deal. If he wanted his cow wrangler, me, he had to accept the horses. So that was our one thing that we did not have in common. But he never said anything about Joy and Emily's horse. But Lindsey was the patriarch of our family. Now he's gone. He's still our patriarch because I continually think, what would Lindsey do? How would Lindsey do it? This is the way that we always did it. So he is still there making decisions. I'm not the same person I was before October 26, 2014. My friends can attest to that. Sometimes you think, how much worse can it get? Am I calloused? Probably. Do I hate? Up until a time I did, until I saw how much energy it was exhausting. Did I dislike the attorneys that were representing you? I did, until I reconciled myself with that And we got over that. Something very strange, I'm sure, to do. Without my friends' and neighbors' support, I don't know where I'd be. And the rest of the family's support. The loss of my family fuels my daily sobbing, never knowing when it'll occur, never knowing when I'll have a breakdown. It might be in the middle of an important meeting. It might be on the way to doing lessons at a farm. I never know. I go without sleep for days. And there's some days I don't want to do anything but sleep. I have nightmares of my family. I have daymares of my family's deaths. I have guilt if I laugh because I think my family can no longer laugh. I shouldn't be happy about anything. So I carry this severe guilt for ever laughing. I've let things go around my house, my yard. Joy was my idol as far as maintaining a beautifully manicured lawn, a nice house. She was my inspiration. I lost my inspiration. I've lost my zest to maintain those things. The amount of time that this case and the following consequences around it has been unfathomable. It's been difficult to find time for things. Additionally, scarcely minutes pass throughout the day that my mind doesn't wander to those images that were instilled upon me and still are. Hearing the name Ryan Lindsey Champion angers me. It angers me because Joy and Lindsey gave him that name as respect for Lindsey and to possibly carry on the good name of Lindsey Champion. When I hear it now, it cuts to the bone. You ought to be ashamed. How I wish we could force you to change your name. It's bad enough what you did, but hearing those two names, Lindsey Champion, associated with you, is just further salt into our wounds. My house, along with Lauren and Judy's house, is brimming over with the artifacts of their lives. Valuable things? No. Little things we don't want to get rid of. Brimming over. My house is small. I gave away many of my things so I could make room for the things that are much more important to me, the pieces that I have left of Lindsey, Joy, and Emily. One piece I have left is this necklace, made from a ring of my mother's. I just got it back about 2 months ago. Couldn't even get the necklace off of Emily because of the duct tape that was on her head. It's difficult for me to wear this necklace. Number one, because I'm afraid I'll lose it. Number two, thinking this is what she had on whenever she died. Other things in my house. Joy's wedding dress. The jacket, the brown and white pinstripe jacket that Lindsey wore at their wedding, July 8th, 1972. Prom dresses that Emily wore. Her horse show outfits. Her hats. All remembrances of their lives that were wiped out without a concern on October 26, 2014. The pictures that I look at from Joy, Lindsey, and Emily from years ago, at one time, I'd laugh about these because several of them are comical. It's hard to laugh knowing the reason that I am looking at them is because they're gone and now I have their pictures. Every day whenever I walk out of my house, the first thing I look at is across the road. I look at Joy and Lindsey and Emily's house. The first thing that I look at. At night when I'm coming home from work, I glance over. I look for a lamp similar to this lamp right here. The lamp that always was on when Joy and Lindsey were still awake, sitting in their respective recliners. When the lamp went off, I knew they'd retired to bed. There's no light over there anymore. The lamp's gone, just like them. I hear sounds. I think I hear Lindsey coming down the driveway in something. It's not him. I hear Harley going down the road. It's not him. He'll never get to ride another Harley. Joy, her bicycle. I never see her riding her bicycle that I named the Mrs. Gulch bike. She'll never get to ride it again. Emily, her horse. I have her. Emily will never get to ride her horse again. She rode her in July 2014, the time that she was home before she was murdered. At least she survived that visit. Joy, Lindsey, and Emily, they left behind their critters. I have Skylar, Emily's Weimaraner. Emily and Skylar and Charlie, Joy's Weimaraner, had their pictures taken by Joy just a week before they were murdered. Skylar's birthday is October 17th. She turned 10 years old that year. She and Emily, constant companions. Now I have her. Strangely enough, Skylar became deaf that day. Wonder why? Did you hit her? Or was it because Skylar was in the house hearing all those loud gunshots? Handicap enough for Skylar to have lost her mother. Compound that with being deaf. Joy and Lindsey's cats, Dub, BW, Claudine, and Possum. They all live in my basement now. Lindsey would brush these cats daily. I still have the brush that Lindsey would use. I do the best to take care of these cats like they did. I'm not the same. I'm not them. Joy and Emily's horse, 27 years old, living with me. All these things that I look at and I think why they are there with me is because my family was taken from me. The cows. Lindsey and I had the cattle operation together. The cows finally figured out Lindsey's not coming back. Lindsey was the good guy with the cattle. He was the one that moved them from field to field. I was the bad guy. I was the one that got them up for whenever they needed fly tags or needed their injections. They soon found out Lindsey wasn't coming back to move them from field to field. He even had a siren on his vehicles that summoned the cattle to move to the next field. I even have a hard time sounding the siren because that was Lindsey's siren that he called a siren. I know my life is a wreck, and there's probably not much hope of it improving. Only consolation is I don't think it can get any worse. Some days it does. The only consolation I have is that one of my 3 family members didn't survive having to know that one or both of the other family members perished. That is my only consolation, along with Mom and Daddy weren't here to have to go through this. The wounds and scars, they'll never go. People say it gets better as time goes on. It's just something to say to ease your mind. It doesn't. I know I have to keep myself together to see this case to the end, because this isn't the end. We still have another case, another trial to pursue. I've been afflicted with a plague. And this plague was bestowed upon me, Judy, and Lauren by you, the plague of murdering our family for no reason other than greed. I implore you, Judge Woodall, to assure us and the public this can never be inflicted upon anyone again. Please shut evil away for many lifetimes. Evil took our 3 precious lives from us, resulting in the quality of our lives being severely diminished. Please do this not only for me, Lauren, and Judy, but for Lindsey, Joy, and Emily. Thank you.